Just gonna hang out until people show up. It's gonna be a chill stream today. Oh gosh. That's the most annoying. Time for tea. Lynn, hey! Welcome. Hello, Cynthia. Fun fact about Cynthia as a name, I think it's lovely. And ever since I was young and watched the episode, I think it's called Brief Candle. It's an episode of Stargate SG-1. And they pronounce it the Greek way, Cynthia, because there wasn't really the C didn't make an S sound, so it's Cynthia. And ever since then, I just love that name so much, and I love that pronunciation of that name. So it's probably more than you needed to know about how I feel about your name. Welcome, everyone. Hi, I am just pouring myself some tea. I decided that today was a perfect day to use my Night Circus tea for one cup. And I'm drinking tabletop teas because I am nothing if not... Oh, it looks like it was broken or maybe cracked or something. That's all right. I'm nothing if not consistent. So I am drinking tabletop teas, Dark Elf today. Oh, hey, Harold. It's always good to see you. Yeah, I was craving... It has been a week. And I ended up putting out my monthly update like 4 days late. So it came out yesterday instead of on the 1st. And I talked about this and that, but Tornado just got back from Camp Grandparents up in Oklahoma, visiting a family up there, and that's wonderful. And they had a great time. But that means that I hadn't seen them for 3 weeks because they spent one of my weeks and one of my ex-husband's weeks up visiting family. And so this week has been full of my child being made of Velcro. So we had a Velcro baby plus school starting anxiety baby because they are in a new school this year and everything is changing. Not a new school like everything is like different and they're going to a new school. Like they've just moved up in the grade, so it's a new school. And I have sat through so much speculation about what school is going to be like, and I need reassurance about what school is going to be like, and what if nobody likes me, mama, and how do I make friends, mama? And I just am so... I love my kids so much, and I am so incredibly grateful that we have the relationship that we do and that I have cultivated the level of trust with them that I have, that they can bring all of these fears to me and all of these, like, that they can process out loud with me. And also I am exhausted this week. So my house is quiet right now because they just went back over to their dad's, and I am enjoying a cup of tea and all of my wonderful friends out there. Hi, everyone. Hello from California. Where in California? I used to live out there. And I mean, saying I used to live there with states west of the Mississippi is a whole entirely different animal than saying I used to live there to people who live on the eastern seaboard, because California is like the entire West Coast almost. It's 3/4, 2/3 of the West Coast. And it's so big. All right, so we've got someone from San Francisco. Fantastic. I drove through San Francisco once because an ex-boyfriend of mine and I moved from New Jersey to San Diego by way of Chico, where his mom used to live, because he needed to like get all of his stuff. So we drove. So he drove his car because it was a stick and I was not really great at driving a stick. And I drove the moving truck and we drove all the way down the coast in 2 cars. And I drove through LA rush hour traffic in a moving truck. Just probably one of the top 3 most stressful things that I've ever done in my entire life. Chico is a wild place to spend time. It was. We were not there for long. I think we spent a couple of days there, just long enough, maybe a long weekend, just to get his stuff like all loaded into the van and for him to like see his mom and everything. And like she was really nice or whatever. Like it was fine. But we weren't there for long. So we moved down and we got our apartment in just north of San Diego. It wasn't like in San Diego proper. The second day that we were there, because we got there and we went to sleep, like crashed on an air mattress, and we're gonna like unload everything. And we unpacked for the morning-ish. Like we woke up and had breakfast and stuff, and we didn't have any, like our cable and stuff wasn't hooked up. And so we went to like they had like a rec center type of thing in that apartment complex. And it was 9/11. And that's how we found out about 9/11 happening, was we went. So I had just left at the East Coast, and like all of my family and all of my friends, and some of them like lived in New York City. And so literally like 4 days afterwards, because we drove across, it's like 4 days after we left, 9/11 happened. And we found out about it like with a bunch of other people who were in the like community room center of the apartment complex. And we were just like all like sitting there just staring at the TV screens, and then like frantically calling family and friends. It was the weird, I don't want to say the weirdest way, because there's no not weird way to find out about that. But that's definitely like indelibly carved into my brain about finding, like, that's how I found out. You have that story, you have the moon landing story, you have your 9/11 story. Oh, we found out on the day after our wedding. Oh, Marcella, I'm so sorry. What an awful start to a honeymoon. Oh my gosh. Yeah, there was no good way. And I feel actually, so Tornado and I were actually talking about this because apparently they had seen a 9/11 story, somebody telling their 9/11 story on YouTube or something, and you were talking about it, and I told them my story and stuff, which is probably one of the reasons it's like at the front of my brain today. And they were like, yeah, this person, like their birthday is 9/11. And I was like, yeah, that sucks. Like our cousin, his birthday is 9/11. And every year on that day, like I really try to be very careful about wishing him a happy birthday publicly, and, making sure that doesn't get lost in, all of the weird jingoistic, nationalistic remembrance of that particular day. Because yeah. Anyway, what a lovely way to start off this live stream, y'all. And yeah, that's kind of the week that I've had. I'm sorry. Let's see. Start answer. Mom had the news on her TV in the room. ready for the day. Yep. Yeah, we saw the second plane hit too. We were in there because we came in between the first and second. And it was just like we were glued to the TV for the rest of the day. We didn't unpack anything the rest of the day. Luckily, everybody that I knew who was in the city at the time was safe. But I didn't find out for a long time about my best friend growing up at the time because she was going to college in New York City, and the switchboard exchange for the dorm telephones was in the World Trade Center. So even though she was fine, like I didn't find that out until much later, just because all of those lines of communication were cut at that time. So yeah, everybody was kind of, oh my gosh, okay, that I knew. So it's a weird collectively traumatic thing. And I think that we have kind of firmly established that our nation is not very good at dealing with collective trauma, evidenced the last 2.5 years. I turned off the Luxor light because because you can see that thing from space. Wow. I didn't even think about like the implications it would have in Las Vegas, like being on the Strip or the Luxor light or anything. Wow. Craigie. Yeah. Sorry to answer. Mom offered to let me stay at my grandma's for the day instead of going to school. You know, sometimes if you can't do anything about the thing, sometimes it's better to like stay busy, right? To like do anything, something to like. I actually don't think that standing there and watching the TV all day was the right choice. Like, I don't think that was the healthy choice for me. I think it would have been better to find out about everybody and then like go and do the thing, right? Unpack and you know, figure out what we could do to help and stuff after. I was quite young. I was 19 at the time, so like I was definitely not grown up enough to like understand about aid and figuring out like how to do things from where we were and stuff. You know, me at 40 is a whole different animal, you know, trying to figure out what can be done and like how to help people and stuff. It was definitely a helpless feeling back then. Good times. So other than being collectively nationally traumatized, how is everyone? How is everyone else's week? Like mine wasn't too bad, all things considered. Just very full of like getting ready for school, going out and getting school supplies, figuring out, you know, what to do for that, and school clothes, because, you know, my kid is like a weed. They've grown 2 inches since their last wild child checkup because we had to go get vaccinations have changed like when you need to get them. So we had to go in and get them vaccinated, make sure that they were all up to date on that. They have just forgiven me for that because apparently 2 of the ones are like the intramuscular ones that stay and like hurt for a while. Oh, they were very upset with me. But I don't remember what else I was. Oh, so that's how we figured out that they've grown like 2 inches. So I need to like make some new clothes for them, I think. So Harold, oh honey, I'm so sorry you've been sick. So I hope that you're feeling better, and I hope that Liesel made you the feel better soup. Hey Christina, welcome. Doing A-okay. Gearing up to watch Sandman. I want to watch that. I have not yet, but I'm actually going to go watch my partner's this weekend. After this live, I'm going to head out because today is my off Friday. And I may bully him into watching that with me this weekend. We'll see. So that's kind of the plan. I did want to also touch on, again, I kind of talked about this in the video that I put out yesterday, that I am going to be like doing these lives a little bit more often. I didn't do one. So when I started thinking about doing lives, I had the idea that I would do them like twice a year. That one, one time I would do them like in December, so that like holidays and stuff. I feel like nobody really has time over the holidays to like watch a video. And instead of having a video that nobody ends up watching in the moment, because YouTube metrics take into account when those things happen, when those watches happen. And if they don't happen in the first couple of days, then that has implications for advertising and dollars and things like that. And this is not really a business, but I also want to make sure that this hobby like continues to be able to pay for itself. Because I definitely am at the point where it is now, and that's great. But I had thought that I would do lives in December and then June. And I kind of forgot to do one this June because I was super excited about like the things I was working on, things I was releasing in June. And I was like, oh, no big deal. And then I realized that I did actually need to take that break. And so after this week, when I'm not even done with the thing that I was actually supposed to release the video for today, the project is not finished. And I don't have any things in the queue right now that could be done and then, finished and edited, right? Which is fine. Normally I have a pretty good grasp on it, but like right now, I just needed the break. And so I think I'm going to start doing one every quarter and making sure that I do, in fact, schedule those breaks for myself, because I don't want to end up burnout, and I don't want to end up, getting to the point where I don't do those things. Or I don't want to do those things anymore because I'm burnt out, because that's what happens. Like for me, I don't end up doing the thing anymore, and I don't want to do that because this is so fun and I love all of you guys and I want to like continue that going on. Rest is a human right. Yes, this is me being revolutionary and encouraging everybody else to be revolutionary. And that's one of the reasons that I'm building in breaks for the sew-alongs that we're having on Discord. So on the Discord, if y'all aren't parts of it, you should go be part of it. And I don't think I have the link in the description now, but I will go put it in the description so y'all can join. We are doing sew-alongs and stuff every quarter. And so my idea is that the sew-alongs will end on the solstices and equinoxes. So the 20th, 21st, 22nd, 21st of every, quarter or whatever. And then the time between the 21st and the 1st of the next month will be the scheduled rest time. And that will be the time to like step back for a second, figure out how you're going to like go into the next project, figure out what you want to do in the next project, take a deep breath, kind of remember that your worth is not tied to your productivity and that creativity is cyclical, right? So you need that moment of rest to be able to have the energy to keep going on. So those are going to be built in. We are going to have built-in rest days where we talk about what we're going to do, and we can post inspiration for things in case other people need help. It's going to be a cheerleading time, talking about how well everyone else did in their sew-alongs, or if they didn't finish, like that's okay too. Like there is no penalty on the Discord or in life for not finishing a sew-along. That's okay. So that's going to be it. we're going to do that. We're going to have like nine days of scheduled rest in every so long. So, and that is my way of keeping myself accountable as well, so that I make sure that I schedule my rest weeks every quarter. So, let's see. Oh, I'm not even keeping up with the comments. Oh my gosh, y'all. Let's see. I hope you have a great time watching it. I have an interesting relationship with Neil Gaiman's work, because I love his work, but I don't always enjoy him as a person so much. He's said some really problematic things, especially with regards to indigeneity, when he was talking about like American gods and stuff. So I have a really like, this is very much a, separating. Oh, hi, Sarah. I'm so glad you joined us. I have a really, uh, everything that I consume of Neil Gaiman's is taken with a salt shaker. But The Sandman was integral to me in my understanding of and consumption of graphic novels. And so I'm really, really, really excited to see what they do with it and where he goes with it. Amelia, dealing with heat exhaustion. You have enough on your plate, Amelia. Please do not injure yourself further. You have enough to do. Oh my goodness. Let's see. Solar pyrography. Oh my gosh. Like that is so cool. And I want to see more about that. So if I like post things and tag me in them and make sure that I see them, because I love seeing people do arts that I don't do. Because it's super cool. How dear people have their own schedule. Yeah, so the funny thing is, YouTube is actually one of the better platforms to be on if you're a creator, because their algorithm is relatively stable, relatively predictable, and they have the best like compensation for creators out there. I don't know if y'all follow Hank Green or not, but he did a breakdown of like TikTok's creator fund versus how YouTube does profit sharing and advertisement revenue. And it is like night and day. So while I understand that like that's crappy on YouTube's part, I also am like, you know what? I can work with that. It's okay. I can work with that. I know how that is going to happen. And there are actually benefits to having people also continue watch things over the course of a long time too. So when I say like, oh, that affects ad revenue, it only affects ad revenue in the short term. Because if people go back and watch those things, that will also continue to increase the desirability of that particular video and videos like it in the algorithm. So, like it's hard to explain, and I've taken a couple classes on it. I don't fully understand it myself, but it is a thing that I'm striving to understand more. But the problem is that everybody gets really like overwhelmed and overscheduled and everything, and then by the time they come back home and they're ready to like pick up their watch schedule again, people have already released things for like January. And so it's more rare that people will go back and watch the December things. So for me, it makes more sense to just do a live stream with people who are around. Anyway, let's see. I'm trying to take at least 2 days of PTO every month at work. Yes, absolutely. I feel incredibly grateful that I have flexible time that allows me to have every other Friday off. I have a wonderful boss who also allows me to do flex time working because I'm not customer facing, and very few of the things that we do are time sensitive. So I can go and get my kid from school and like bring them home, and that's fine. So I am very, very, very I feel very strongly about people making sure that they have a good work-life balance. taking a break in mental health are so important. Elena, they are so important. I'm proud of you for understanding that and for like getting to the point where you can do that. I still sometimes feel guilt and shame, and I'm working on that. But being a cheerleader for other people doing like mental health work has allowed me to like sidestep some of that shame for myself. So I feel like having a community that is invested in that and cheerleads everybody else for it too is super duper important in that progression of like decolonizing your work ethic, you know? And that sounds so like buzzwordy, but it's important. Let's see. Oh, hey, Delphina, you got to the Hotel for Artisan. Oh my gosh, tell everybody there I said hi. I'm so sorry that I was not able to make it. LaDonna Delphina is a fellow Laurel in Onsteora. Amazing person, just the sweetest person you will ever meet, and has the most beautiful hair ever. Oh my goodness. I feel like that has to be said of most authors. Yeah, it's true, especially like cis white dude authors. I have been on a quest to read as few books by cis white male authors this year and last year as possible. And I will say that the majority of books that I have read that have been 2 stars or below are written by that demographic. And I just, it's very difficult for me to like want to read those things when other books by, you know, Black non-men or indigenous, you know, people like exist. Like there's so many of them. Queer people, like, oh my gosh, I like literally the only person that I'm really terribly excited about reading books by who is a cis white male author is John Scalzi, and his treatment of diversity and equity in his books is amazing. So absolutely would read that. Let's see, who else? Marcella, I run the artist in residence program for work. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Like to constantly be surrounded by like people doing things, and being supported in doing those things, like monetarily and community wise, like that must be amazing. How does YouTube Premium impact ad revenue for you? I believe that for every viewer who has YouTube Premium, we do still get a cut of that. It is like teeny tiny cents on the dollar, but so is ad revenue. So I think there is an impact that happens. Like we still get credit for that, but I don't know what the percentages of it are. I tried teaching us a pyrography class. Only 2 people showed up. Only 2 people? You were robbed. I would totally go to that class. I can't import you to Onsteora, but like if we're ever at the same event and you're teaching it, I will be there. Let's see. Oh, so kind. I love you too, Delphina. Hi, Michelle. First circle tomorrow. Good luck. They are not as scary as everybody says they are. They're not as boring as everybody says they are. You're going to be fine. I will not be there tomorrow. Tomorrow, I am going out to Houston to spend some time with Alden, and do some projects there. We have some things that we need to work on, you know, just personally and also like for Stargate stuff. So we will be doing that. I believe I will be at a couple other events too, though, coming up. Definitely the Brinkled ones coming up. And then there was in front of me, but I will be at a couple events, especially if they're coming up. Hello from Prague. Hello. What time is it there? I don't even know. Hey Siri, what time is it in Prague?
9:49 p.m. in Prague, the Czech Republic.
That's not bad. That's not bad. Well, hello and happy evening to you. Oh my gosh. 2.5 and 3 months, you are a rock star. I remember both of those times in Tornado's life, and both of them were very rough for different reasons, and I cannot imagine doing both of them at the same time. So hats off to you, definitely. Yeah, I actually really enjoy Laurel Circles. For those of you who are not conversant in SCA speak, basically what happens is laurels are the terminal award or recognition of people who research and make things. And as they are a peerage order like knighthood, what we do is a couple of times per reign of our kings and queens, we have a couple of circles, and basically what it is, they're closed meetings between the circle of laurels, whoever happens to be there, and the king and queen, and sometimes like the prince and princess if like there are heirs and they want to sit in. And we talk about people who are, up and coming makers and researchers, and we talk about, like, are they ready? Are they ready to be recognized with that particular award? And if not, then what do they need to improve on? What do they need to work on? And it's always really exciting for me because I am on the southern end of our kingdom, which is comprised of Texas and Oklahoma. So it's a very long kingdom, like basically half of the country tall. And I don't always get to see people, and it is really delightful when other people are like, oh, I want everybody to keep an eye on this particular artisan because they're doing really good work and they're doing really good teaching and they're really, doing their stuff well. So it's like I get a really a nice heads up to like talk about or to watch people and to see what other people are doing, which is great. And sometimes there are like these like conceptions that like people are mean or catty or awful, and I don't actually think I've ever had that experience. I mean, there have been ones where people have disagreed, sometimes vehemently, about whether a candidate is ready or not, but I have never felt disrespected or like people are petty or catty in the circle, which is always lovely. Like I don't want to be around people like that. I don't want to be associated with people like that. And I don't want to bring new candidates into a circle composed of people like that, because I don't think that's fair and I don't think that's right. So there's drama in this game. I mean, there's always drama. It's a group of people. People are always going to people. But I have definitely cultivated a social circle within the SCA that is genuine and safe. And I try really hard to make sure that that continues to be cultivated, and to be outspoken, because as a peer, I feel like that's a responsibility of mine to spend the social capital in order to make the space safer for people who are not white and not straight and, are intersectionally marginalized in other ways. Like I feel really freaking strongly about that, as I'm sure anybody who has been on this page for more than like 3 videos knows. Could you speak to my experience of becoming a laurel? Oh, okay. Yeah, I can do that. I want to preface this by saying that my experience was atypical. So I don't want you to think a typical experience of people who are on the path to being a laurel. And actually, it might be a really fun idea too, maybe for my next live stream. I will have partner on here too, because he also is a laurel. He is actually a double peer. He has a laurel and a pelican. And our paths to peerage were very different. In fact, almost diametrically opposite of each other. So it would be really interesting to like have that experience, like the two of us talk about it. But so I started playing when I was in college in Mid-Realm, and it was a very small shire, and nobody in Mid travels very much. So like nobody came so much and played with us. We were all kind of on our own. I got my AOA there from Canewin, and also some dude who was sitting on the throne next to her. And And then I moved down here. I actually got my AOA like the weekend after I moved down here. my friend accepted it in court for me. So that was pretty funny. And I moved down here and I got pregnant with Tornado, and I was very sick. I was very sick the whole time. And then once Tornado got big enough that I was only slightly sleep deprived every day, I decided that what I really wanted to do was to pursue an arts career in the SCA. And I had been playing kind of on and off the whole time. And I decided, I was like, all right, here it is. Like, I'm going to do it. So I started, and I've always been somebody who does research. That's always kind of been my thing. I, as a history minor in college, and the only reason that I was not a history major is because I had a very deep heart to heart with my advisor, who I told I wanted to be a medievalist, and he was like, "Have you considered not doing that because of how few jobs there are and how at the whim of the market you have to be in order to get a job as a medievalist?" And I was like, oh, right. So I switched to something else. But so research has always been in my background. So I pulled that into the SCA, and I've always been doing research and stuff like that. But I decided that I was going to get real serious about it because that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a Laurel. I wanted to achieve that. So the very first entry that I ever entered was my Egyptian socks that I made, and they won. They won that competition, and then so they went to Gulf War, which is an ongoing war. Like, it's a yearly war that happens between a couple of different kingdoms, and basically we all fight each other, and everybody always ties at the end because really it's all in good fun. But you can win points for your kingdom by doing things like fighting in battles or volunteering your time or, doing other things. And so the very first things that I ever made for competition ended up going to an interkingdom competition, and they didn't do badly. Like, they did fine. I think they were pretty middle of the road, which is really what they deserved. So that's fine. And then after that, I was just very focused, and my Laurel put together. I hope everybody can still see me. I have noticed that like the comments are falling off, so I hope everybody's just engaged, like engrossed in this, and that I'm not also having troubles like Burnley and Trowbridge. Okay, good. Okay, good. I do see people. I was like, oh no, because there have been comments going, and then like they stopped, and okay. So where was I? So I just decided to be very focused on it. And so my Laurel put together, she wanted to do a like a salon kind of in the like the French Victorian, Georgian sort of era, right? Where people would have these like really elevated intellectual circles where they would talk about like poetry and talk everything. Okay, good. I'm glad everybody's engrossed. Cool. And so she formed this thing, and like, all of us, it was focused on improving ourselves, not only improving our research, but improving our display and presentations, figuring out how to teach classes. Because, and this is a thing that I have a really big problem with in the SCA, we are an educational nonprofit, but there is no culture of teaching pedagogy, teaching people how to teach. So we have a whole bunch of volunteers who have done enough research to know the thing that they're doing, but don't have any experience in how to convey that to other people. So part of what we were doing in the atelier was figuring out how to do that, how to teach classes, how best to engage with people, how to learn how to teach in 2 or 3 different ways so that we could reach more people and people who had different learning styles. And that was really incredibly helpful in a lot of ways, right? So not only did I become a better teacher, but I learned better how to connect with people, and how to prevent, or how to like connect with people. And I leveraged social media to my advantage. I had a very small child and I was not able to, who is talking to me? Okay, cool. I was not able to travel, and travel is seen as a thing in our kingdom that is important, not because you want to be seen, right? You want to make sure that you are known by other laurels. You want to make sure that you are reaching people to teach them more than in just your local area, right? So one of the ways that I did that without having to actually physically travel, which was way more difficult for me with, an 18-month-old, was to have a presence on social media that people could follow. So I posted my work on Instagram, and I posted that's where Opus Ellen actually came from. It means Ellen's work. And Ellen is my SCA name. And that was how this whole thing started, was so that people in the SCA could find me and could learn and could see what I was doing and could connect with me. And that turned out to be a really useful strategy for me. So I ended up being one of the people, one of the more quickly elevated people. My journey from getting my AOA to elevation was just under 7 years, I think. 6 years, maybe. No, I think it was 7. Because I got my AOA before we moved down here, and then a year after we moved down here, Tornado was born, and then like they had just started kindergarten. So between 6 and 7 years. That is not typical. There are 2 people in my kingdom who went from our mid-level award. So you get your AOA, your inaugural award. That's kind of the first thing that you usually get. And then in our kingdom, we have 3 levels of art award or art recognition. And one of them is, the initial entry level, beginner level, you do this thing really well. The mid-level is kind of the, you do this thing really well and you're starting to teach. You're playing at a regional level and people are starting to kind of know who you are and to speak of you as an authority in your subjects. And then the peerage award is obviously the highest, and that is, you are a person who exemplifies what peerage means in a meta level, on an ethical level. You have peer-like qualities. You're a good person, and you are somebody who ideally is safe to have around newcomers, right? That you would feel comfortable leaving a newcomer with, and have them have a good experience with that, right? Plus all of these other things, So there are only 2 people in the kingdom who have gone from their mid-level award to peerage faster than I did. And I don't mean that to be a brag. That is not a brag. And in fact, there is definitely part of me that wishes that I had done it slower, that I had not been so focused, because I did not have a lot of time to adjust to each thing, right? I didn't have a lot of time to adjust to being seen as an authority locally, an authority regionally. And there's still a lot of not still, I feel like I have a pretty good grasp on it now, but when I was elevated, I was still asking questions about Anstiura because I had lived down here for less than 10 years. And so I was still having these kind of interkingdom anthropology questions. I was still asking about the history of why does this group of people not get along with this group of people? There's history there and I need to know it, right? Oh, yeah. See, Michelle says from AOA to Laurel was 31 years, right? And that's also maybe atypical in the other direction, but I just don't want people to ask me how that happened and then compare their progress or their path with my path, because first of all, that's never good. That's never a good way to feel let's not do that gifted kid thing here. Let's not do that. It's been a trip, y'all. It's been good, but I I would not have been able to do the things that I did if I did not have that community around me either. Like, I would not have been able to leverage those things and to hone those skills as quickly and as determinedly and as in a focused way without the atelier. And I absolutely credit that group of people and that style of pedagogical teaching and pedagogical exploration with my success. So get you a community. Oh. Let's see. Who else? Enlightening thought about pedagogy and social organizations. Yeah. Like we have a responsibility to the people that we are teaching to do the best job that we can. And I think that without standards of, or I don't want to say standards, that's not quite right. Without expectations of a certain level of preparation for teaching, I think we do a disservice to the people that we are expecting to teach. And that's not fair to them, and that's not fair to their class goers. I have strong opinions about this. And my cousin, who's like my sister, actually just graduated her PhD program in pedagogy. So these are discussions that I have with people like completely anyway. Yeah. So I'm always advocating for like clearer pedagogical expectations of people. Less SCA technical knowledge and an abundance of technical writing ability. Honestly, that is really valuable, or can be really valuable, because so we get people who are really good at doing things and really good at learning things and not always great at understanding how to convey that information to people who are judging competition. So we end up with people who, if you would talk to them, could tell you exactly where they learned all of these things and how to do them and how they did the thing, right? How they made the thing. They don't always know how to write that down. And at least in our kingdom, we don't do talking judging. We don't do face-to-face judging where we talk to the candidate or the people and then kind of go off of that. We ask for written documentation. And there are pros and cons to both. There are other kingdoms. I know Mid-Realm does, face-to-face judging. And I think that there are like definitely pros for that. I also see that there are pros for being able to sit down and write a thing out such that anybody can read it when you're not around. But that means that people who don't have the experience of writing things down are left behind. So that's a con of just how things happen to be in our kingdom right now. So, sister has 2 masters in pedagogy. Ooh, man, I'll tell you what, like, there is part of me that is really interested in communication is really interesting to me, and how people communicate and the ways that they choose to communicate and what that says about them and how they process information and the ways that they see the world. Super interesting to me. And I think part of that is being neurodivergent and just feeling like I have to have a better handle on how people communicate in order to make myself understood. So naturally, having that particular special interest definitely means that pedagogy is a natural, like, I dovetail naturally into being interested in pedagogy, because what else is pedagogy but the dissemination of information in a way that people can learn things from? So interesting to me. if I was going to go back, it might be for that, but I don't want to teach. I'm just interested in knowing. I don't want to teach formally. So I also don't want to spend a whole ton of money to get a master's degree in something that I'm not going to actually use. So love to brainstorm about some alternative ways of showing documentation. That's an accessibility thing, because what do you do if people have learning disabilities or dyslexia or don't have the privilege of having had an education that makes knowing how to write a paper easy? I, I have some ideas, and I have some, again, pros and cons from other kingdoms. I don't want to get too deep into it today, mostly because I'm going to hop off in about like 10 or 15 more minutes so I can head out to partner's house. But I definitely think this is an ongoing conversation that I would love to continue having and to pull people in from other kingdoms as well. How to go about communicating their skill at communication. That is a really good question. So I think a lot of it has to do with being able to, within a classroom at least, being able to sort of read the room and to take frequent enough breaks to ask how people are doing, and to ask them in such a way that they understand that there is no judgment for not understanding. Because I know that there can be a lot of social pressure to act like you get the material because you don't want to be judged, or you're afraid that people are going to judge you for being the person who needs more help. So I try personally to build time into my classes for people who need extra help. And if we don't need that time, then either the class can be dismissed early, we can stay and socialize a little bit at the end. All of that stuff is really important. So having a demeanor that invites question and invites people asking for that help is really important. How would I go about coaching somebody? Again, a conversation that I would love to have, but is a really deep topic, so I don't really want to get into it right now. But I have absolutely coached people on how to be better teachers in the SCA, so that's definitely a conversation that I can have at another time. Wheelchairs weren't a thing. Ooh, okay. Reenactment is for everybody, and I feel strongly that that means everybody. People had disabilities back in the day, and in some ways, society was set up to be able to accommodate them better than it is now. One of the things that I have tried to start doing in my local groups when we're talking about like event planning is, what does the site look like for accessibility? How are we accommodating the people who need it? Are there paths that are going to be good for both manual and electric wheelchairs? Do we have space where we can set aside room for a quiet room where people can go into if everything is too much? Do we have accommodations for people who have needs in terms of like heat tolerances and stuff like that? One of the events that I went to recently actually had a small tent that had an air conditioner in it where people could go if they were, not okay, and sit in there for a little while to like regulate their temperature a little bit. So yeah, I feel strongly that I wear glasses, and I have had literally nobody ever come at me for my accommodation for having the eyesight that I have. And I will go to bat for anybody who has or needs any other accommodations, because if we are going to be okay with accommodations for people who have acceptable disabilities, then we need to advocate for accommodations for people who have difficult disabilities too. And that's just how it is. I feel strongly about that. Don't get me started about the state of the DART at Penzic this year and the fact that they've discontinued DART and only have one accessible bus going on one route that doesn't reach everybody. Not happy about that, let me tell you. Yeah, no, I think about you a lot, actually, Delphina. Delphina has struggles with mobility and needs accommodation for those things, and I try really hard to keep people in mind, and not just wheelchair users, but like any mobility aid user or any thing that could possibly be needed. That these things are things that planning committees need to keep in mind. And if they are not keeping them in mind, then they need to have people who put that in front of their heads, because that's important. And it's important to me that nobody gets left behind about it. I've held back on presenting my art at events because writing is difficult. It is difficult. And I know that I have the privilege of an education, and I have a brain that has done well in education despite my neurodivergency. And not everybody has access to that, and not everybody has that privilege. And so one of the things that I would like to see more is either people working with people who have learning disabilities like dyslexia and can't write very well, or struggle with writing, or we have so much video technology available to us right now. We should be able to accept video documentation of somebody just sitting there and talking about their stuff. And we should be able to, there are transcription services available. YouTube does auto transcription, and you can just take that and put it into a paper, make that available along with a video presentation. Like, I have ideas. See, people always underestimate the amount of seating needed too. That is true. Ramps benefit able-bodied fighters who drag armor bags. Absolutely. I do have some other people who struggle with ramps, just because I have a friend who has cerebral palsy and uses canes, and the grade of ramps is very difficult for them, but they can do 1 or 2 steps. So I think it's important to have a full understanding of accessibility. But yeah, accommodations help everybody. If I was not neurodivergent and I had a kid who needed a quiet space, I could take them in and maybe rock them to sleep for a nap in a quiet room that also benefited people with, autism or ADHD or sensory processing disorders who needed a quiet, darker space as well. There are so many ways that accessibility helps everybody. And anyway, I have a lot of thoughts, obviously, about this. 3 feet wide walking. Yep. Yeah. And one of the things that I don't particularly love about, we have a lot of events happening in church spaces, which is a whole other thing, religiously. I don't want to get into that, about, the idea of being welcoming and using those spaces, and the ways that people who are not Christian may feel intimidated by that or not comfortable with that. But also, there are some churches that are not necessarily subject to ADA things, either because they're not public buildings, or because they are in buildings that predate the ADA and have been grandfathered in. And so they don't always have the kinds of accommodations that we need, but we use them because they're cheap. And because we don't have a lot of money, because we're a nonprofit organization, we don't have a lot of money to spend on things. So we end up going with cheap accommodations that are not actually accessible all of the time. So I think the balance of those things is definitely something that we need to always address. This is so great. Y'all got me on a soapbox. This is usually what happens at events to me is I will go to an event and spend the day before the event hanging out with my SCA friends, solving all of the problems of the world and ranting about the things that I don't have the power to change right now. So it looks a lot like this. Yeah. So anyway, I want to again thank everybody for coming and hanging out with me while I drink delicious tea out of my ridiculously expensive limited edition tea set, my Night Circus tea set. And again, it is a Tabletop Teas tea because I have a brand, and that brand is buying tea from my best friend. So anyway, everybody who is not part of the Discord but would be interested in joining the Discord, please do that. I will make sure to put the link in the description after I actually close the live out. I love hanging out with everybody there. We have created an amazing community, and continues to be an amazing community. We have a book club going on right now. So if you're interested in reading Mary Stewart's Crystal Cave, which is where my name comes from, Ellen, I picked from that book, and I'll let everybody know when we get to that part. We are reading that along right now. It started August 1st, so you don't have a lot of like catch up to do to join us. Things that we can be expecting in the future. I am going to be releasing this fall, so gear up for it, an expansion for the Londinium Hood, which will be historical dagging that you can apply to each of them. So I'm just tracing out those shapes now and writing up the instructions for that. And another thing that I am working on putting together right now is a comprehensive project diary that will consist of printables for people to print out and, put in whatever notebooks they want to use. And then also some digital templates for things like Notion or Trello or GoodNotes or Evernote. I'm still working on that. So if there is a system that you like, that works for you, please let me know, because I want to make sure that this includes as much information that everybody will find useful as possible. And so that's probably going to be like towards the back end of the year, because I'm going to take a little bit of time to like do proper research on that and everything. So those are some things coming up. If you are in the area and might enjoy like seeing me in person, I will be teaching at this year's Academy or Tournament of Defense. Again, I did a vlog last year on it, and I will be teaching clear classes this year. One is a lecture on the history of queerness from early modern or early Christianity to like pre-industrial Europe. And I will also be teaching the gore class again, and I am adding a smocking class this year. So if that is something that might interest you, I will again put the description or the link in the description box after I get off of the live. And I think that's pretty much it for right now. We've had a really busy summer, y'all. So thank you for that. Thank you for being a virtual friend. Oh, I'm so glad. Smoking is bad for you. Shut up, Harold. I love you. So I look forward to hanging out with you again. And in 2 weeks from today, I will actually have the 12th century Bleo done, and it will be released then. So don't worry. Don't worry that I'm not going to release it. I will do that. Don't worry. All right. Apparently, I say bring this to policy work conversation. Please tell me how that turns out. Like I'm interested to see how conversations like this that get started in niche hobby spaces can get translated to more professional spaces as well. Because a lot of that change usually does come from, that doesn't go top down, it comes bottom up. It's very grassroots. So I'm really interested and seeing how that works out for you. So like, keep me posted. In any case, I am going to get out of here because I have spent an hour talking to you. It was amazing. Thank you all for hanging out with me, and I will see you all again soon. Make sure to stay hydrated because it is freaking hot in the northern hemisphere right now. And for those of you in the southern hemisphere, please stay warm. It is not it is not good to freeze to death either. So I love you all, and you know the drill. Do the things. Keep supporting marginalized creators is really the most important thing. So, well,